What's up, everybody, and welcome back to a fantastic, brand new episode of Who What Now Gaming, podcast for consumers by consumers, where we ask the questions, who are you, what got you into gaming, and what type of gamer are you now? I am your humble host, Josh Stewart, and today we have an absolute treat, AfroFish. Back at it with streaming, killing it with Arkham Asylum. Like, what is up, dude? How are you?
I'm super good, man. I'm really excited to be here. Like, I've been paying attention to your TikToks, so I'm stoked. I mean, I like your content. I like your content a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, I got this idea where basically from last year. Well, I guess last year about like November, December. I've always wanted to do content, produce something. And then I thought, if I don't ever try to do it, nothing will ever happen. Mm-hmm. So, I spent about basically since December kind of planning and putting everything together until I felt ready to go. And then I hit go, I hit record, and it's been pretty much all history from there. And, we got this idea. Me and one of my good buddies, also on YouTube. Shout out to Nerdy Noah Reeds. He's also my tech guy, so like the whole reason that any of this is even possible.
Oh wow!
So we got this idea that we want to start like our own like gaming like crew, just to the guys that we and gals, but the people that we build from like the ground up. And so we want to kind of create like the nerdy gamer community, and we're not going to take the shortcuts. We don't want to do the the buy the bots, buy the views. We're not doing any of it. We want all genuine stuff, and we're going to see is it possible, and if it is, we'll see. Future me, how's it going? But enough about me. Let's get into like, who is AfroFish? Like, where's your journey? Where did it start, and how did you get to where you are now? Like, what how's it been going?
So, I mean, I don't know if I want to do like the back when I was a youth,
Yeah.
But I started with the N64.
Yes.
I started with the N64. My mom got it for me. I remember as a kid, she was like, you guys can play 20 minutes a day, which at the time I was like, cool. Yeah, when you play in a game like Super Mario, bro, like Super Mario 64 or something, 20 minutes a day is basically like, it ain't nothing. That's like 2 stars and you're done.
Oh, dude, you spend the first 10 minutes trying to remember where you left off last time.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So like it was like me and my 7-8-year-old brain like trying to figure stuff out.
Yep.
But I started with the N64, then I had, like the Game Boy, like obviously, I was that old school, like, oh gosh, I was like retro now. Like that, God, it makes me feel so old.
Makes me feel so, yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Speaking of which, I was talking with another guy, and I was like, so at what point does something stop becoming old school and goes to retro?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Dude, I honestly that kind of hits, because I remember like having like my first like cell phone, and then finding out like a couple years later that like the do you remember like the Razor?
Yes.
Like it was in like the museum of like old technology or whatever, and I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I just had that like a couple of years ago. I'm like, and then like all of a sudden I'm like looking in the mirror, like I'm now 30, and I'm like, oh man. And people are like, oh, do you remember those, like the way back games, like the original Nintendo? And I'm like, what do you mean way back? I was like, I had that. Like, what are you talking about, man?
No, for real. Okay, so I saw those like React videos, right? And it was one of those things where it was like kids react to like the technology of like the 90s and stuff. And I'm like, okay, this kid's like touching the Game Boy, right? The original Game Boy. And he's like, why does the touchscreen not work? And I'm just like, I think a little piece of me just died inside.
Yes.
So yeah, it's nutty, like seeing how like they hit that age. There's like age gap. Cause I'm like, even the 360 now for the new kids are like, that's old school to them. And I'm like, I remember when that came out, but I did have a PS2, which I absolutely loved.
Yup.
And I had a PS2, loved it. I played like a lot of like the Ratchet and Clanks that I've always said are like my favorite franchise. Um, they're fantastic games. I think everyone should try them at least once. The
Oh,
Jack and Daxters,
100%.
the Sly Coopers,
Yes.
they were the big platformers. I didn't get the chance to really play the PS one too much, but it is what it is. I did have a
Yeah.
Game Boy SP that I was super excited. Like I was like, oh man! Before I moved out, I was gonna go get it, and there was like a huge crack in the middle of the screen, and it didn't work. And I was just like,
Ah.
inside, like the inner child in me was just like, yo, who broke my stuff? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
100%.
I ain't doing this today. Like,
Yeah.
but I also had like a GameCube. I love the GameCube. I think the GameCube is one of the most underrated consoles to ever grace the earth.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The Super Mario Sunshine, Mario Kart Double Dash, The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. I never got a chance to play Wind Waker. Kind of regret that.
You never got to play Wind Waker?
No, I didn't.
That one's fantastic. That was a great
I've heard
one.
nothing but great things about it, and so
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can get it up on my Switch or something. Because I would love to. But I had a bunch of those, and like a bunch of games for the GameCube. I actually even found a Metroid Prime for the GameCube at a GameStop.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the dude I was in there. It was probably like this is like 2010.
Yeah.
And I was up at the Mall of America GameStop, and I'm like looking through it. And I'm like, yo, why is this in here? And the guy's like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I'll buy it. He's like $10 and it's yours. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I was, it's one of my favorite ones too. But I bounced from there, got the 360. I had to, like, oh my gosh, my parents were like the super like, oh, I don't want you playing games with all the blood and violence and stuff.
Yeah, mine were too.
And like I had to fight tooth and nail to be like, Mom, Halo, I'm fighting aliens. And she's like, but did the aliens have blood? And I was like, I don't know. Do flies have blood? But you still kill them?
That's a solid point, actually. Yeah, that's a good point.
But so eventually I got to play Halo. I was 16 years old. I'm hearing my friends play. Like I got to miss the era of like the GTAs and all that other kind of stuff. But to be fair, I've told myself, maybe I'm just coping, but like, I'm glad I didn't because of that, I might have missed out on some really stellar other stuff.
Yeah.
And so 360 era, the Oblivion, I think Oblivion's great. Oblivion era, all that. Loved it. But then like, the Wii, I bounced from the Wii, I've bounced from the Wii U. Now it's like I got my PS5, I got my Xbox Series, I got the Series S because there's no point in me buying the Series X right now, anyways.
Yep.
And my Switch. So like it's been a long, long time of just different games, different genres.
Yeah, I wanted to. I was gonna say like there was to go on the like parents not like letting you play like the violent games and stuff. My dad when I originally got I think it was my PS1, but the like the first Resident Evil came out. And or like I got my hands on it, and I remember my dad taking it and being like, this is gonna mess you up, like it's it's real gory, it's real messed up, all this stuff. And I was like, so for like a couple of years, like as I was kind of like as he would kind of like hold it behind like this like parental gate, and then finally one day I'm like, hey, like I forgot about this game, but like clearly like I'm just getting my stuff together, like can I just get that game back? Because I was like, I got to see how absolutely monstrous and messed up this game is. And what a letdown. I'm like, dude, what were we keeping me from? Like what are we hiding me from? Like the blocks and the like kind of, spray paint can, like, blood spatter. I'm like, man, I get it. Like if you didn't know, I get it. But also like, man, let me experience this, like.
Well, and that's what's so crazy. Like speaking on that, because like my parents were obviously big sticklers, which was really funny because they would be like, "Oh, I don't want you playing certain games," but I'm like, "You ever played like an Ocarina of Time?" I'm like, what do you think the Gibdos are? Those are zombies. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell? You know, so
Yeah.
after a while, you know, I sit back, look at it now, and like I find it funny. But the thing that got me more so is the fact that it was after I went to I worked for briefly at a GameStop.
Nice.
And it's an adventure. That's a story for another time.
Yeah.
But long story short, there was so many people who did not know anything about like the ESRB system.
Okay.
Didn't know the rating system at all. You know, I remember I had this guy again. I had one person come in and was like, "Oh, I want a game, but I don't want it because my kids are young. What would you recommend?" And I'm like, I told him about the ESRB system. I'm like, "You're the only person who's ever asked about that."
Yeah.
A lot of parents just go off of what their kids want. They're like, "Oh, I want my you know." So I had a lady, and this story. Oh my gosh. I had a lady that she comes in and she's like, "I want a kid for my, I want a game for my kids." And I'm looking, their kids are like 7. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm like, okay, well, what do they want? Well, they want I want a game that's, that in her terms, she said, doesn't show off the parts. Right. And one part, she means lady parts.
Right.
She means lady parts. So I was like, okay, that's not difficult. So I go over it. I'm like, okay, well, how about the Lego Star Wars? Well, that one's too much for kids. And I'm like, yo, did you forget that your kids are 7?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, not that. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. So I'm like, okay, well, how about Guardians of the Galaxy? You know what I mean? It's Marvel. People like it. I don't know if they're gonna like that game. Well, you're not gonna know unless you buy it. But
Right.
So
Oh,
she
100%.
grabs. Okay, so she grabs Saints Row.
What?
She grabs Saints Row. I shit you not. Like, so like she gets it. She's like, how about this game? I'm like, this game has everything that you don't want.
Yeah, literally make a list. Everything's in there.
And she's like, well, does it show off? Does it show off the parts? I'm like, well, it does have a lot of there's violence, and you can, you can really, if you hit, you can hit men and you can hit women. You can.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care about that. I just want them to show off their parts. And I'm like, so you don't want them to see the bodily autonomy.
Yeah.
But you okay with me bashing their brains in?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
biology is completely off the limits, but morality, that's where we're having the, we're cool, do your thing,
And so, oh yeah, of course. So, I go and she's like, I'm going to buy this. I'm like, oh, okay. And so another customer comes over, sees the kids, and you realize that game is true. I know what I'm doing.
Right.
You don't have to tell me. And I'm just like,
yeah.
Okay. So he gets in, she leaves, and this guy.
Customer's always right,
Oh yeah, the guy walks up and he's like, "Chew, she's stupid," and I'm like, "She'll be back."
She'll be back. Yeah.
So unfortunately, I never got the chance if she actually did come back or not. But I just,
oh wow,
it was
really?
it was just one of those moments where I just sat there, and I got stories when it comes to GameStop. Like I thought telemarketing was stupid, but then I worked at GameStop. But it was, wild.
There had to have been some solid perks, right? For just working in a game store.
Yeah. So the biggest perk is actually not the pay. But
really? Well, that's crazy.
$10.75.
Yeah.
You paying me $10.75, and I was like, okay, no. So the only thing is that you could sign out, you could borrow games.
Oh,
so I would just sign games out. Yeah, I would just go up, sign games out, and I would just take them. And then they're like, well, if someone wants to buy them, you have to bring them back. And I'm like, well, sorry. Just tell them that we don't have it. I'd send them somewhere else.
Yeah, get something else. Yeah. What are you talking about?
So, I ended up renting. I was going to rent Forspoken, but we never had a Forspoken in at the time. But then it was Pokemon. I rented Pokemon. I rented the Super Mario All-Stars. And I played that. That one was fun. That was actually really, really cool. Because Super Mario Galaxy is by far that's one of my favorite Mario games. Excuse me.
Yeah, Galaxy was freaking fantastic.
Dude, Galaxy is fun, man. Especially with the soundtrack. That it's so crazy. As I get older, I learned to appreciate different aspects of gaming that I might not have.
100%.
When I was younger, it was oh, I want my game to look cool and the graphics and stuff. And then I went back to go play a game like Mass Effect, right, which I loved when I was younger, right, and I thought it was so
Mm-hmm.
cool. Went back to play it, I was like, this is an unplayable piece of shit. Like I was like,
Dude, okay, I gotta jump in on this one. So my buddy from Nerdy Noah Reads is the biggest Mass Effect fan that I've ever met in my entire life, and love it, right? And I remember the games being awesome, and so we did an episode on the podcast about like why it's so amazing, and we did like kind of like a rating
mm,
review kind of thing, and it was just like, what do you think? And it was like based off of his absolute pure enjoyment for the game and my memory of 15 plus years of not playing it. So we're like at the end of like the podcast, we're like, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna replay the games and see if they are like if they still hold up in 2024. And I was like, this is it. This is gonna be awesome. This is gonna be fun. And dude, the first game is so awful. It is, and it is. Oh,
thank God for the Legendary Edition.
well, that's what I'm playing it, and I'm
Oh,
like,
really?
it's just the thing that I have the biggest like gripe with is that every time I play this game is that like I like games where I'm trying to like I can set it down for a while and come
Hmm.
back to it, and then there's like a waypoint where it's like, hey, just to let you know, this is what you were doing, and
Right.
this is where you need to get to. You can get to there whenever you feel you want to, but until then, like I'm just gonna leave this little dot right here on your map.
Hmm.
In the first Mass Effect, there is no waypoint area. It's just a map, and then it gives you like the mission details. And
Yeah.
then you have to go through and read the mission details to like decipher where you're supposed to go. And I don't remember like anything about this first game. So I'm playing it and I'm losing my mind because I'm spending so much time just running around. I was playing, it said to go to like this certain like solar system or whatever. And then I get there and then it was like, there's like 8 planets. Good luck. And I was like, what? So I'm like going around, I'm like hitting, like I click on this one. It's like, hey, you found, materials. I'm like, perfect. And then it was like, here's a place you want to land. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. And then I get there, I'm running all over the planet. I'm finding these like, these animals that live there. And like, apparently they found a key that I, for some reason, very specifically need, and they took it, but we don't know which cluster of the animals have it. And so now I got to go find the animals, and I'm driving all around. I spent like an hour, maybe 2 hours on this planet, and I'm like, what am I doing? What is the point of this? And then my buddy Noah jumps in on there and goes, what are you doing on this planet? And I go, I was going to ask you the same thing. I don't know. And he goes, there's no mission that you need to be on this planet for. And I go, why did it let me land on this planet? What am I doing here? Like, oh, it's driving me crazy.
That makes a lot of sense because I do like. It's been a bit since I've played the Legendary Edition, but before the Legendary, I went to the 360 version,
Yep.
and that I got to. So I got to where you got to fight the Thorian.
Okay.
And I stopped because the gameplay was so terrible on the 360
Yeah.
version that I was like, I can't do this. But I definitely know like on the Legendary Edition, I think my thing was like there was some of them where it was like the only one I knew right off the bat was like the Milky Way galaxy where you have to go do a couple of the missions there, which is like stop the VR system, I think it was. And but other than that, I definitely say Mass Effect was one of those games that I love it, but I love it more when I'm not playing
Yeah.
it.
That's actually the best possible way that I've ever heard of like that. Like that. Yeah, I 100% agree.
And that's how I feel about Arkham.
It's the memory. It's the memory of it that I love more than playing the game.
Right.
Although Arkham Asylum is a fantastic game, but in comparison to the next like 2 games, it's definitely the weakest.
It is. And in terms of the atmosphere and stuff like that, it is so cool. I'm not gonna lie. Going back to the Return to Arkham was so cool in those regards. It's the actual gameplay that really really made me want to just sit back, and I was like, yo, what the hell were you guys thinking with some of this? Like, I get the story. I actually like the story of it.
Yeah.
But, and seeing like the little like inner workings, because like you going there in a mind of when the game came out in 2009, right?
Yep.
Compared to 2024, and I'm looking at it through. I think I'm doing it through like a mental health lens, and I'm like, yo, this what the, who allowed this? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, you got people like Harvey Dent.
Yep.
Yes, he has the dual personality thing, but he just locked in this jail cell somewhere, and
Yeah.
Batman's like, you're gonna get the help. When? Never. And
Yeah.
just leaves.
Yeah.
Like they got like Mr. Freeze in just this ice cell just
Yep.
somewhere else. I'm like, why is he in solitary? Like there's no reason for him to be in
Yeah.
here. And so it's so dark.
Yeah,
No reason.
it's so like my favorite thing about like the Batman games is probably like the same thing. Like I've always been like a fan of like Batman, and the comics, the movies. Like I've always loved Batman. But the one thing that I thought was super funny that they stayed true to like the gameplay portion was that Batman doesn't quite fully understand what causes severe harm to like people. So it'll be like, oh, I never kill people, or I have a code, I never kill. But then like you're playing the game, you drop off of like a 35-foot ledge and just slam the dude's face into the concrete, and then he's just completely still, and he's like, shh, he's sleeping, and you're like, no, Batman, you murdered that guy. Like,
No, it is, and it's so. I think one of my favorite parts of that is how like confident Batman is in this, and they're like,
Yeah.
"You're not gonna get past me, Batman." All right, bet. Just
Yeah. He just sees it as a challenge, and he's like, I'm absolutely gonna wreck your day right now.
If I was a villain in the Batman universe, and I'm just watching them take out all my goons, I'm running. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Like as soon as I watch him break this guy's arm, I'm like, whatever it is, I'm dropping. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this no more, man. Like, I'm going,
yeah,
I'm going back to
100%.
my
Because
cell.
like I could totally understand like Joker's perspective, because he's like he's psychotic. He's absolutely mental.
He gets
so,
kick off of it, like
exact, and that's the point. Yeah, he that like that's his thrill. But then you have like Cobblepot or like Two-Face, and even like not 100% a villain, but not exactly on the good side, but like Poison Ivy. You're like, oh, you totally have the like means of getting like the fuck out of here, but you're just sticking around because what? Like the abilities of these villains and their determination to just stay in Gotham. Like, it's not like there's a massive border around Gotham keeping everyone in. Like, this isn't like Escape from New York. Like, this is, you know what I mean? Like,
right,
you could just leave. And they're like, no. Everyone stays here.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's like the fact that, like, I'd be like, it's funny because I love how Batman is a very compassionate person. Like, that's one of my favorites is how he talks to Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
And when he uses their first name.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it comes to Freeze, he always calls him Victor, and I like that. Like it's like
it's that sign of respect.
Yeah, he's trying to reach out, and even with like a lot of his villains, I love that he'll talk to. You know what I mean? He will he's talking to Ivy, and Ivy is like, "Oh, I'm here for the plants and stuff. Ivy, take your plants, go to the rainforest, and just sprout out from there. Kick out whoever is in there. I don't really care. Like, but do whatever you want to do. Just do it away from here. Like,
yeah, you've picked a massive city to try to grow plant. Like, you have the rest of the world. Like, right now there is a rainforest dying. Like, go help the rainforest.
Go help the rainforest. Or it's like, just set up a floral shop. You literally little shop of horrors. Like, you are the walking 100%. Embodiment of it.
Yep.
And I think it would be like, it's always funny. Yeah, they just stick around in Gotham, and you're just like, or same with like characters like Bane and all that stuff too. Like, I'm gonna go rob banks, and I'm like, Batman's probably sitting there like, bro, why? Like, why? Because I'm like, if I'm not a supervillain, right? I'm not no high powered, flying around, whatever. I'm not robbing no banks.
Yup.
I'm finding a job from home, and I'm locking up my doors because I know damn well, one, Batman's getting in regardless. Like, and if
Oh
I
yeah.
let's say I got in, I don't know, I was down the streets and I robbed this person, and I go back home, I'm gonna be sitting there looking over my shoulder for like the rest of my life.
Dude, I don't know how to do it, but I think somebody should. But I think it'd be really funny to see like Batman supervillains, but in like 2024 when they put all the villainy behind them, and they just do like influencer shit where you see like Bane on TikTok like doing like hitting the gym, just absolutely wrecking house, being
He
like,
already
"Yeah,
is. He's Joey Skull.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, 100%, yeah."
like,
That's good.
no, for real though. Like, I think it would be funny. I always wanted to see this. Is like, I want to see like a office style like show from the perspective of the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're like,
That's
oh, it's,
good. I like that.
you got one where like Superman's flying through this building or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah.
all right, boys, we go back at it again.
Yep.
Like,
That's good.
it's like,
That would be. They could do so much with that. That would be
I think it'd be
hilarious.
so funny. I could just imagine a scene where they're like, dude, sorry, man, we got to go. Like, Ivy's trying to tear up the city, and you got the dude's wife being like, tearing up the city.
Yeah.
Like, is that your excuse for leaving again?
Right.
He's like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, you got a
Like,
giant vine go through the trees. Like,
Yeah.
see? Like,
Yeah.
I told you. Like,
Yeah. No, they blew up the bank. I have to go. Okay.
Like,
Sure you do.
like one of those where it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna make it to work today. Why? Superman threw my car.
Yeah. Right.
Like, yes, like it's I even got a car that's not red.
I mean,
Like,
how many in those universes there is like insurance claims? Like you would have to have like a policy where it'd be like, okay, car accident, things out of your control, supervillain, Spider-Man absolutely destroys, whatever, Superman throws your car, Batman commandeer, or like, even when like, Batman's got the Batmobile. I mean, when he's chasing a villain, the amount of vehicles on the road that just absolutely get sideswiped, like who are like does the bank build that? You know what I mean? Like I sometimes I find like joy in just like looking at like the background logistics of just stuff where you're just like there's a you're just like it's 6 o'clock in the morning, right? The city's already fucked. Like there's nothing you can do about it. You wake up, you have to get to your day job, and you step outside and your car's just on fire. And you're like, well, don't know how I'm going to pay for this, don't know how I'm going to, what am I going to, like.
I think the funniest thing to me is also the fact that they live, like in the city. They live, try to live these normal lives. So like even like the low tier villains, right? Like a I don't know, like a Dr. Psycho, right?
Yep.
And like imagine going down the steps and being like, "Oh, how's it going, Mark?" Just like he leaves one way, you leave the other. Oh, shit, yeah. Mark's in jail again.
Yeah.
Like if I'm sitting there, like, I'm about to get out and go to my car, right? And then all of a sudden I just watch like Wonder Woman come smashing through my car. And, she's like, "This is going to be for a good use." I'm just going to sit there and be like, I'm going back inside. Like,
yeah, 100%. I would get fired all the time because I would just never leave my house. I'd be like, I don't. What do you want me to do?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like, what do you mean I still got to come into work?
Yeah.
So just like
the city is on fire. Be like, yeah, we're
you just like driving like back.
Joey
and forth.
called out, yeah,
just like swerving through, just being like, nope, I'm gonna make it.
Yeah,
I think as a regular person in these worlds, it's kind of like I was talking with a friend of mine. We were talking about like Dragon Ball, right? And he's like, "Oh, if I would love to be in the world of Dragon Ball," I'm like, "I wouldn't."
No,
I was like, "Do you know the risk?" I'm just sitting there knowing that like the world just could just explode for no reason.
I was gonna say if I had the like ability to choose to be a Saiyan in Dragon Ball, 100%, I'm in. That would be amazing. But anything else, I'm out. No thanks.
I think I'd want to be a Majin. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I can just tell me, I can
Yep.
just like, I can just all of a sudden just make. I mean, I'm really much impervious to damage, and I get a tail. I don't know why. That just sounds cool. But like, just and like you look at someone like like any of the Saiyans, and yes, it's cool that they get stronger and all that other kind of stuff. But I'm not gonna lie, like I don't have the dedication that Goku have to just keep training like that over and over and over.
Dude, Goku's ability to get out of being a parent in all of the series is my favorite thing to watch. Like what was it the beginning of I think it was Dragon Ball Super or whatever, where he was just like, oh, I gotta be a farmer for a while, and then he's like complaining about having to like do a job, and then like somebody shows up and they're like, the world's at stake, and he's like, I'm out. Let's do this training now. Like,
I mean, let's be honest though, like that's basically all of us when it comes to gaming. Like you're like, oh, dude, I get to leave my job early, and you just God, like, and I think it's funny because like whenever when I watch Dragon Ball, and I'm always like, dude, Goku, I love Goku. I love the fact that this dude is just like, yo, I'm going to train to get stronger, solely for the fact that if this motherfucker come back, like I'm whooping him again. You know what I mean?
Sometimes I feel like that's just his excuse, though. I feel like all he wants to do is train, and then they're just like, "Why would you get stronger?" And he's like, "But what if?"
And the thing is funny is Goku's right every time.
Yeah.
So it's like, so
time,
why do you keep questioning him on this? Like Vegeta don't have to. Vegeta, he a prince of a different world, but that world is now gone. So like, I'm just like. All you did, you just married into like literally one of the smartest and wealthiest and wealthiest like women in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, he ain't got to worry about nothing.
Well, and then
because
like
they don't work.
And even like 100%. Even but even like in the beginning, like Vegeta only got stronger because he couldn't stand like not being stronger than Goku. And then now they're finally like branching their like abilities and their strengths like off after I don't know what 40 years.
Yeah.
Like so finally like they're now on their own paths and they're now growing
I find it more fun. I find it way more fun.
It's so.
Well, I think the thing that's funny is I was like, there's a controversial take, and I was like, Vegeta's actually never lost a fight against Goku. And I had a friend like, what? Like, how? What? And I'm like, he has never actually lost a fight. Now, I'm like, it's kind of picky because you got to kind of cherry pick this.
You're right,
he never, because I'm like, he beat Goku, but he lost to Gohan when he went into his other form, when he went into his Master's form. And then I was like, when they fought in, I believe it was like during the Buu saga, it was kind of it really didn't count because they realized that Buu hatched. Don't count. Now you have Copy Vegeta. I don't count Copy Vegeta. That's from Super. That's really not even fair. And then, they tried to make it in, I think it was the superhero movie. They tried to make it like, oh, he finally got his win. And I'm like, bro, this dude's never lost.
Right. Yeah,
like he lost an ideological battle. I could say that. Right. But
well, and they've always like tag teamed a lot of stuff, but when it purely just comes down to Vegeta versus Goku, it always stops with a like something's going on. They have to stop the fight because of an event going on, or like there was like that one time they were fighting and then it seemed like Goku was winning, but then Goku just like got hungry. And then Vegeta was like, no, we're not done. Like, I still have so much more in the tank. And Goku's like, I'm hungry. Let's go eat. And so, like, yeah, you're 100% right. I can't believe I've never actually noticed that.
Like, it's kind of like I said, you got to have a cherry pick because you got to kind of pick off it. Like, is it like the physical battle between the two? No, Vegeta has not lost. But like in an ideological battle, obviously because he's become friends with Goku. That's also why I did have an issue with Super, because of the fact of like one of my favorite moments of all that is Vegeta just admitting that Goku is a better fighter than him.
Dude, like
when he tells it straight out, I was like, okay, that's it. That's a great way to solve it. But then they kind of like the one thing I loved about Goku is honestly I've never thought of Goku actually as like a bad parent. It's really weird in that circumstance.
Yeah, dude, she's shit.
It's like the thing is that, and it's so weird because I say that to him. Like, I don't think Goku's an absolute terrible parent. One, I think Team 4-Star kind of really changed people's opinions on it. But I think one of the things is Goku we've always known is a very confident character.
Yeah,
you know. So when they used him, but he's not dumb though. You know what I mean? And like he knew for a fact that Gohan from very early on had ridiculous potential.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he was able to damage Raditz in the beginning, he was able to square off against Frieza for a little bit.
Yep.
When this guy's basically just an untrained powerhouse. So when they set him up against Cell, does it sound like a stupid idea in terms of like a parent thing? Absolutely. But in terms of a fighter, it makes absolute sense. He's by far the only one, and if he can push himself out of that zone, you saw that that was it.
Well, and he sees so much of himself in Gohan to the point where, like, knowing that Gohan was never going to actually grow because Gohan had never gotten in other terms. I mean, has never gotten the shit kicked out of him. So like he was like, hey, like I'm tagging out. Gohan, you're in. Go, do your thing, and then just gets absolutely wrecked. But doing so unlocks, his Super Saiyan 2?
2. Yep.
Yeah. So goes into Super Saiyan 2 and then just becomes an absolute beast. And like Goku definitely, saw that potential. And like, even with like before the or in the Buu saga, there was the whole like going into the time chamber and like training with like Goku and like growing their abilities and getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So like from a fighter aspect, best trainer there could possibly be. But from the like just the comical like parent aspect, yeah, man.
No, and that's the thing. And that's the thing that's
like,
so funny is like, and I think there's a part of it too. This might be just like a headcanon where Goku also knows that he can't protect it forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's going to become an opponent where he's not going to be able to beat. And if someone doesn't step up, that's it. And that's the one thing I will say that I did appreciate when it came to Goku. Was like he did recognize that. He knew Gohan had to be the one. Because when Gohan taps into the Saiyan side of him, it's over. Like that's what you see. Like I think of like in Dragon Ball Superhero when he goes into Gohan Beast, and like Cell Max punches him, and he just got this smile on his face. Like, bro, I'm about like it reminded me of like if you ever play a fighting game against like younger kids or something.
Yeah,
and they think they're winning, and you're like, all right.
It's when you're doing that right, and then they're just like, wow, you suck at this game, and you're like, all right, hold on. I'm about to show you a whole new side of the world right now.
That happened to me when I was playing my friend's kid in Mario Kart. And I'm like, all right, let's go. And we start going. And she just starts drifting off right away. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, I didn't know you. And she made a comment about being like, she's like, you're not very good at this. And I was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Because once that competitive gets in, I'm like, no.
I had a moment a little while ago with my oldest daughter, or with my youngest daughter. We were playing Super Smash Brothers. So they're young enough that we're working on like control mechanics, and so basically at this point we're just trying to stay on the map.
Right.
And so we'll be going like back and forth. She's hitting buttons, and I'm just playing around. Then I'll be like, oh, I fell off, and then it'll get like right down to the last little bit. And then she starts just hitting the one button, and I'm just staying really, really close so that, she's getting hits in and everything. And then I get super close to the edge, and then I start falling off, and then she comes down like with me, and I do the double jump, grab her, throw her down, and the game ends, and it comes up with me victory. And I go, there's one thing you'll always have to learn is that you'll get close, but you'll never beat me.
Because that one day that she finally does. Is she gonna just be like, I did it, you know what I mean? And then until
like, all right, get out.
I always look at him like, she's gonna be like, I beat you, and then you're gonna be like, all right, now I can try.
Yeah, gloves off, like It's gonna be. You ever watch Naruto when
Yep.
Rock Lee takes the weights off?
Yep.
Just.
That's like, like the expectations just jumped.
Yeah.
But no, like I 100% agree with that, and it's funny because it's like I actually I'm a big Smash Bros player. I love playing. I used to do tournaments. I used to actually set up tournaments.
Yeah, I
Back where
wanted to
lived.
actually talk about that because what goes into doing like tournaments and
Like it's been a long time since I've done it. A lot of times, so I guess I'll set up to where I first started doing tournaments. Was on Smash 4 for the Wii U,
okay.
and I was just playing them because like I was like, I was bored or whatever. And I actually got to set up tournaments. It actually was part of my community service. They actually told me that I was able to do that for community service.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But don't ask why. But like those yeah. But no, it was fun because like when it came to tournaments, like for me, I was always like trying to practice, and like you can only practice so much with like bots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can only practice so much with bots, but for me, it was always like getting mechanics down. And I'm a very much of an instinct kind of player, where like I get progressively better as I go along. Like the
Yes.
longer, the more, as long as I'm playing straight. So I did my first. I had my first tournament, and I won that tournament. Right, I set up the tournament. No one really knew where it was, anyways. It was like a little card shop, whatever. And so the second day I come in, we have this guy. He comes in. His name's Steve, and I'm like, okay, I'm like, cool. I just won the first tournament. That dude kicked the shit out of me.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It was like 3. I don't think I took a stock off him the final because it was both of us in the finals. And he's like, "All right, man." He's like, "Good, good game, whatever." Got up and left, and I'm just sitting there staring at the screen, like, and I'm like, "Do anybody know who this guy is?" And no one's like, "No, we don't know who he is." And I'm just like,
you just walked in.
Yeah, he just walked in, won the tournament, and walked out, and I'm like,
yeah,
no one does.
Smash,
so that
Smash
sat
Bros.
with
Prodigy
me.
just walked in, walked out, and you're like, what the
that
fuck?
Sat with me rent free in my head. Horrible.
That's good.
And so he comes back the next week and does it again. And at this point, I'm like, nah, we can't. We gotta. So like, I just spent the whole time, training, learning moves, how to interact and stuff. Mainly just for me, it's anticipation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to go into like certain, like you get into like a rhythm how you want to get stuff done.
Yep.
And it was brutal. I'm not gonna lie. I've had to bounce between. It was Smash 4. I bounced between like 3 characters. It was Captain Falcon mainly. That was who I was with, and I was like, I'm gonna be a good Captain Falcon player, which I turned out to be pretty decent. And then I played against a guy who played Jigglypuff, and I got my ass whooped.
The players who are just ungodly good with Jigglypuff drive me crazy because I'm like, you shouldn't be this good. Like there is determinate. Like when you sit down for like a real fight, and then you just hear Jigglypuff, and you're like, what are we about to get into? Because you're either doing this as a joke, or you're going to absolutely redefine what this game means. And it drives me crazy.
And they did, honestly. Like I had to leave Falcon to go play Rosalina and Luma.
Okay.
So I had to switch to Rosalina and Luma in order to just have a chance. And so I was a Rosalina and Luma player for a while. And then I learned to play like Mario. And eventually I learned it was Ness and then Yoshi. And Yoshi was what I used mainly until going into Smash Ultimate. So I was in a tournament in September because I really kind of cut back on a lot of tournaments and stuff. But I was in a tournament in September. It was super fun.
Hell yeah!
I actually ended up winning that one. It was tough.
Nice.
The guy I played, he was Kirby, and Kirby's just an all around good character. But like my Yoshi just wasn't working. And he had a friend of mine. He's like, "Yo, I don't think your Yoshi's working." I'm like, "I don't think it is either." So I switched to K. Rool.
Okay.
And K. Rool is so much fun, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like he is. Oh my gosh, he is so much fun. Slow, but like a lot of super armor he got on him. He got his projectiles. Like he just,
used correctly is an absolute powerhouse.
Oh yeah, and I loved it. So I ended up winning that tournament. And then I was playing. Who I was talking to? I was talking to this one. Oh yeah, I met this one lady on Twitch because what I would do on Twitch is I would go into people's go into people's streams, and I'd just sit there and I'd kind of just talk to them from now and then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was this one lady, and I went and played. I was like, "Oh, you play Smash Bros?" And she's like, "Yeah, I do." And I'm like, "Cool." So like, we'll play. Let's go play. So I'm feeling pretty good. It took me 10 matches to get my first win.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got absolutely annihilated, and I just I'm sitting there and like, there's the prideful part of me that's just like, yo, you're trash. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's like, and I'm getting better, and I've played against her quite a few times. I haven't played in a while. I want to, and I would actually record them. I was actually recording them up. I would record them and then I would put them up on YouTube. So I might do that again. I got a couple other videos I want to do, but one actually I want to do is about G4. That would be I'm trying to get people on that one to do like a G4, like almost like a round table kind of thing.
Yeah.
Bringing it up because I've had that kind of happen at one time. Actually, I have a funny story, and it's about Skyrim. I don't have to change games too much, but
that's what the show's about. Honestly, it's
like
it's almost become weird if we spend too long on one game, because the ability to just like swap between games on this show is like prime.
Oh no, that makes total sense. And what was funny about it was with Skyrim. I remember there was a story I had where I love that game. It's a fun game. Although I think
it's
personally,
fantastic.
I think Oblivion is better.
Okay.
I think Oblivion is better. I think I got that. I like the more RPG aspect of it.
Yeah.
Skyrim is kind of the white bread version of the RPG genre, and I think it's because like it's easy to get into. It's basic. It's pretty plain now. You know what I mean?
It's user friendly.
It is. It's very inoffensive. And so like when you get into like The Witcher or Baldur's Gate, and you're like, oh, this is what an RPG is, But I remember when Skyrim first came through, and I thought this was one of my favorite stories about this. Is I was actually out at a bar one time, and I mentioned Skyrim, and some guy was like, "Oh, you play Skyrim?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so we start talking about what we're doing in the game, and then another guy comes out and he hears this, so he starts. By the end of it, we had about 9 dudes all sitting around outside talking about Skyrim, and this lady walks up. And she walks into one of the dudes, and he's like, "Yo, we're talking Skyrim." And she's like, "Why are you talking about that?" He's like, "What does it matter to you? Get out of here!" Yeah. She walks right off. They're all sitting. I'm like, "Bro, I just started a cult right here." Like, it's like, I love Skyrim. I think Skyrim at this point kind of been saved up by mods though. Like the mods for them is hilarious. It's kind of like watching the mods for like Elden Ring or something. But because I was playing one where there was a Naruto mod.
Oh, what?
Yeah, there was a Naruto mod. You could get the Rasengan. You could get
Sick.
What was it? You could get like the Chidori. You could get Chidori Senbon. You could get Kamui. So like it was pretty cool in that one. I thought that was actually pretty fun. They had a Dragon Ball mod, which was pretty fun too. I was playing that one. They had one for JoJo's, which was King Crimson's mod, which I really really liked. That's an interesting mod. So basically, like you press your command button, or your action, whatever, and it almost like everything turns like red, and they put the music for JoJo's in there, and like everyone's attacking where you would be, but then you get to move freely around somewhere else and then restart it, and it's kind of fun that way. It makes you feel like a true god, like
hell yeah. That kind of just reminded me. Have you played, because the last news that I heard about it, I think it's been taken off of all game stores because of some like copyright issues or something, but it was like, I think it was called Jump Force or something.
Yep.
It was like do you know like what happened to that game? Do you know?
Okay, so the problem with Jump Force came through. I think part of it was it got a lot of fanfare at first, because of the graphically and stuff like that, even though it does look a little kind of oddly glossy for some of the anime.
Yeah, I was super late to the game, but when I did get my hands on it, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I have
it for like 2 different systems. Like, and when I got it, I'll say like I did enjoy the gameplay of it. It's nothing that wowed me. And
Yeah,
I
a
think
hundred
that's
percent.
part of the issue why it didn't
Yeah,
do as well, is because it looked all right, it looked pretty cool, but then like nothing about it was a really wow factor once you get past like the sparkle lights.
yeah. It was great, but it didn't have the wow
No, the
factor.
story was trash. The like,
Yeah,
like I got no holds bar when it comes to that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Like the story sucked. I think there was a too much of a use between Naruto, Bleach, and Dragon Ball and One Piece.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
way too many of those characters. Like I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, so you come and got Naruto, Sasuke, no Sakura because apparently they just really just hate her.
yep.
Kakashi, Gaara. Why do I have Gaara in here? And then Kaguya, and I'm like, why is Kaguya in here? On top of that, there was some issues with the fact that not everybody has seen things. So like seen certain things. So like Bleach, the Thousand Year Blood War, they were using that version of
Yeah,
Bleach, and the people were like, "Yo, why does Aizen look like this?" And so
yeah. That was one of my big like hangups when I started playing the game because I wasn't fully caught up on like all the different animes.
yep.
So there was a couple of parts where I was like, well, why does everybody look like this? Or like, why are we like, the move sets are different than what I'm watching right now. So I'm like, this
Mm-hmm.
doesn't match up. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just flavor and stuff. But then eventually, as I'm like going through, I'm like, oh shit, like I'm just not here yet, you
Right.
know?
And I think between that, a bad story, and there wasn't much to do if you weren't fighting against someone else. You had
Yeah,
those little missions of like, oh, beat them in 45 seconds or something like that, and I'm like that's not fun. It felt very lazy. And I
yeah,
think that was the problem. They were banking on the titles to be enough. Now, something like J Stars for the PS4 is a bit different. That one came out before Jump Force, and that one's a little more of that open, kind of an open environment kind of thing. I'm fine with that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
To me, I was like, yo, I'm not gonna lie. I'm playing as some of the most powerful characters in anime. Um, why can't I knock your ass through buildings?
yeah.
Like there should be stage setups where like if I'm fighting, as Yusuke from Yu Yu Hakusho, and I spirit gun a dude on the edge, and he goes flying through and smashes through like 5 buildings, and then goes crashing into it, something like that. Come on, let me do that, guys. Like that. That's the kind of
Yeah.
like that's the kind of immersion stuff. On top of, like I said, there was a lack of like they went into the DLCs, and it was like Biscuit from Hunter x Hunter, which okay, that's fine. Hunter x Hunter got 2 of them, or two. I got 4 because they got Miriam.
Right.
But then you got like All Might and Bakugo. You got more Bleach characters. You got more Naruto characters. You got 3 JoJo characters. I think you have
Well,
like
they had One Piece, but my biggest issue was that like sometimes I felt like there were definitely matchups that should not have the like the equal fighting strength as like I feel like they should. Like I shouldn't be playing as like Goku and then just getting my absolute shit rocked by like Sanji, the chef from One Piece. Like
right.
it's just like there's definitely an imbalance there.
Well, and I'm totally
And it's
fine with
like,
like in terms of a gameplay terms, everyone's kind of on an equal footing. It's kind of like if you ever played Injustice, like
yeah,
they all took that pill that
I actually liked that
yeah,
one.
they all took that pill or whatever that gave them the
Yeah.
durability of a Kryptonian. I don't mind that part at all.
But see, there was an in-game reasoning for that.
Right.
In Jump Force, they were just like, we just want to put anime characters versus anime characters, and there was no rhyme or reason as to why everybody was on the same playing field.
Right. And I think it would have been better if they would have given a choice. I do like the create a character, the create a character mode. I thought that was
Yeah.
but it felt a little like I don't know. I don't think it felt like oh I can pick a hairstyle from different characters, but
Yeah,
I mean give me some
basically were
unique.
just
I think that's I would
yeah,
actually say
you
that.
were,
Actually, I want to say that about Jump Force is that it's the most uniquely ununique game when it comes to an anime. Everything feels like it should be really unique about it, but when I start to play it,
yeah,
it feels like just a watered down version of everything else. It's
that's solid. Yeah, I
um
see that.
and it sucks because I have fun with it, Like I
Yeah.
use like Ichigo a lot because Ichigo is just freaking ridiculous.
I love Ichigo.
I love Ichigo. Also, I did make a TikTok video. I don't know if you ever saw it or not, but I did make a TikTok video saying about the bleach. So this guy was talking about how on a podcast he's saying that solo leveling should overtake bleach in the big three. And I was like,
Okay.
I sat there and I was like, bro, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was like, there's a new gen, there's a big three for a lot of new gen animes, right?
Yeah.
You know, like the like My Hero. I'd say My Hero right now. My Hero, JJK, and maybe like Hell's Paradise.
Yeah.
You know, or Demon Slayer. I'd say Demon Slayer. So you got those three. You know what I mean? Before that, it was like it could be like I don't know, maybe Attack on Titan, One Punch, and let's say like I don't know Hunter x Hunter or something like that.
Yeah.
But I was like the big three that everyone knows is Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. And I'm like personally, I think part of the problem is that Bleach actually requires you to have a bit of media literacy.
Yes.
And people just don't like because I'm like there's some moments where I can understand with Bleach, but I'm like honestly, some of Bleach is some of the most well written.
I fully 1000% agree, and just saying, Bleach is definitely still one of my top like favorite animes to watch. But I do find it very funny that Bleach is the #1 dropped anime in like in their like viewer records or whatever, and it's I don't think people I don't think the fans stick around long enough to see the writing through. I feel like some like Naruto I feel is like is one of those shows where they create a plot point and then they solve little bits and pieces of that plot point like every couple of episodes.
Right.
Just enough for you to be like, I feel like we're making progress. Whereas like Bleach, it introduces something. We like the new season hits. We're now introducing the aftermath of the previous season. We're going into like now the gist of the new season, and then we had to introduce the problem, then the politics about like through through the land of the living and the deceased and stuff, and then we have what's going on in like the Soul Society and stuff, and so then we're building up this big thing so that the last like 10 episodes of that season is just an absolute like firework.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's got to be, it's brilliant. But I don't think anybody ever like gets that far.
No, I think a lot of people. I know a lot of people had issues when it came to Ichigo at first. First, it was Ichigo is just a he's bland. He has no goals. And I'm like, no, he does have goals. His goals is to protect his friends, to save them from the trauma that he experienced with his mom.
Yes,
like it's just that simple. He's not like, I'm trying to be the strongest Soul Reaper, because honestly, in that world, there's no purpose to be the strongest Soul Reaper. Right. You have, I think, one of the best well-written characters, in my opinion, is Odahime. Yeah. And a lot of people don't like Odahime. Either it's because of the way the character looks, or it's because they only saw the anime. So, they saw the stuff with like Ichigo. Oh, why is Ichigo going to be with Odahime when he should be with Rukia? Which honestly, according to the manga, that was never supposed to be a thing. It was clearly
to be with Rukia.
Yeah, it was clearly supposed to be Ichigo and Odahime. The problem is that the anime added a bunch of scenes that didn't need to be there. I was reading this thing, and they had Kubo, the author, talking about it. And he was even saying that he was like, there was moments where that would happen. He's like, I would scream at my TV screen because he was like, that's not what I wrote, Yeah. And so I think that's where. And also, I never got that vibe from Ichigo and Rukia.
That's what I was gonna say. I never picked up on that.
No, it felt like a much more of like a very close friends kind of thing, like a brother sister kind of feel where like
bingo. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
And so. And Odahime, it's like, well, Odahime, she's useless. And I'm like, no, she's not. Like, she's actually insanely powerful. It's that in a world of killers, she's not.
Well, she's the protector with offensive abilities.
And I was like, they're like, well, she's useless. She got nothing to him. And I'm like, did you guys forget when like her brother tried to literally like take her out? Yeah. Because he was a hollow. And I mean, between that, the depression stuff she went through, because I believe she had very abusive parents. And so that's why her brother took her. And then, the fact that, yeah, she's dealing with the fact that she sees Ichigo with Rukia and she's starting to feel insecure about herself. That's totally relatable.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So she wants to prove that she is something useful. It's unfortunate that, when you do something like that, you tend to make mistakes. You know what I mean? You tend to not think clearly, because being a Soul Reaper, well, she was a full bringer anyways, but being a Soul Reaper was not what her original goal was. Her goal was just to protect Ichigo like he has protected her before.
Right.
And then, a lot of people don't, like I said, don't listen to that all the way through, because actually the Fullbringer arc, I think, is better than people get credit for. And, by the time that she can finally stand on her own against, literally against Yuhaba, that's nuts. That's great. That is great. That shows that, like, at the end of the day, she's not behind him. She's standing right next to him.
Yep.
That is his shield. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, I still stand by. I think Bleach still has some of my absolute favorite character developments when it comes to just like shows. Watching the dynamic between all, even just like the umbrella of the Bleach, characters and story arcs and stuff. But like, to see where they're at now, to see the relationships and the strengths, the weaknesses, the bonds and stuff, it's definitely still some of my absolute favorite that I've seen so far.
Let's be honest, like, seeing that battle between Unohana and Kenpachi, the battle of the Kenpachis right then and there, like, that was insane. And I think the Thousand Year Blood War does such a good job of setting up that beginning of watching, you see, you got that action music coming in with Kenpachi, and then you just see him being hung up by his throat, and you're like, oh no. And so, watching that fight between them and between those two, and knowing that, only one of them is going to come out of this alive, was insane, I think, and I loved it. I loved it. Like, I didn't even start Bleach right away. I started Bleach in 2021. So, like,
oh yeah, no, I was super late to it.
Yeah. And so now I've kind of learned to give certain animes a shot. Like Attack on Titan was one that I had to go back and rewatch because it was such a long drop between seasons.
All right, let me ask you this one: Attack on Titan.
Mm-hmm.
I have not watched any of it.
Okay.
Should I? Like, is it worth it? Is it, like, does it actually stand up to the hype that the fans make it? Or really?
Yeah,
okay,
I think so. I actually had a blast with it. Once again, another one that does require media literacy, and it delves into a lot of really deep themes, but I had a lot of fun with it. I know the only thing that's controversial is the ending, but I'll let you deal with that when you get to that point. But I loved it. Like, I had a lot of fun with it. By the time it was over, I was like, damn, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, now what do I do?
Yeah, I felt like that with Full Metal Alchemist when I was like,
I've never seen Full Metal.
Really?
Yeah, I've never seen Full Metal.
That one's actually a really cool story.
I've heard.
It's not as like visually it's really, really cool, but I think, Full Metal Alchemist, like, true strength comes from its story that it tells.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where, like, the pure, like, what makes it just so good. That
makes sense.
That one's fantastic. And it's not even that long. I think I finished it within like watching on and off a couple episodes, like a weekend or something. I think I finished it in like almost a year or so.
Yeah,
maybe a little less than.
Me and my fiance, we watched. I showed her Death Note for the first time.
Nice.
And she liked it. She enjoyed it. And
here's the controversial one: have you watched the Netflix live action version of Death Note?
Yep.
Thoughts?
The thing is like, I could try to be even when I try to separate it as like its own thing, it still sucks.
Yep.
It's funny because there's a tier. Okay, there's a tier when it comes to like trash ass anime, like live action stuff. Right at the very bottom tier. This is something wow. I was talking with someone about what would you rather watch, The Last Airbender or Dragon Ball Evolution, and I was like,
Ooh.
I said Evolution.
Yeah, I would definitely
Because
go
as much as
Evolution.
it's bad, there's something. It's kind of an enjoyable. Like there's it's kind of just
Yeah.
enjoyable. You can make a great drinking game out of it though. But like it's like it's just like there's a fun part to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But holy
Yeah,
cow!
when it really boils down to, it's still like a very it's still like visually entertaining, and it's still like the story is, it's there.
And that's where I
But
put with like Netflix. Like I think Netflix Death Note is just it's because like you change so much of it to try to fit like I mean the Death Note having additional rules and I'm like sitting there and I'm like tell me you don't understand Death Note without telling me you don't understand Death Note.
you know what I think the real problem is, when they make these live actions, they're taking an anime series that has been going on for like years, with like mangas and different, like you have like fans who like come up with like and help generate their own content with that stuff. And I think the problem is that then people find something so popular and so beloved, and then they try to condense everything that we love about it in an hour and a half, maybe 2 hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, people are going to love this. And you're like, no, it took me months to get to where you just ended in 2 hours. And you're expecting me to have the same feeling without all of the same details and like ups and downs that we, went through when watching the anime.
Right. No, exactly. And it's hard to do. I'd say it's very hard to do without trying to spin it into something of your own. That's why you're seeing with a lot of like TV shows when it comes to like these video game TV shows and stuff. And especially coming into movies and all that other kind of stuff. They're trying to do this own version of things and not everything is just gonna click. But
Yeah.
that's why I just can't get myself to watch the Halo one. Like
I haven't watched it either,
I can't do it. I know the Borderlands movie coming up. And
I was just watching some stuff on that. It's all over the place, dude.
yeah, that's where I'm having like some issues because I'm like, am I gonna go watch it? Yeah, I'm gonna make myself go and watch it. Am I gonna try to go in with an open mind? Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna say it's gonna be great because I'm not gonna. There's gonna be some biases.
Yep.
But I'm gonna try to go in with an open mind. Do I think the movie's gonna be bad? No. But if you went and told me like, is the movie gonna be good? I don't know. Like
I don't know.
It's hard. It's hard for me to say. And I think that's the hard part is like you said, like you're trying to take all these stuff and condense it down. This is why I actually had so many problems with the DCEU. Is because I'm like you have like centuries of comics and you just try to cram it all into a little bit and it doesn't work.
There's a guy at my job that we often have these conversations where you put like Marvel and DC and they're starting to make everything, like everything's got a movie, everything's got a TV show, everything's got this, that, and the other thing. And we both agree that and maybe controversial take, who knows, but I don't think that they're completely hitting the mark on these like superhero movies and TV shows anymore, because they're straying so far away from the source material that was already established and popular.
Mm-hmm.
Like people already loved it, and then we're trying to make everything like, I'll say it for this, like TV safe, and there's not like Deadpool even like kind of like borders the line sometimes. Like I love the Deadpool movies. I've always loved the Deadpool comics. But if Ryan Reynolds wasn't, putting so much effort into making sure that we stick to, Deadpool's original like vibe, then it would not have been as remotely successful as it is now.
No, and that's actually a big thing too, is like I don't think your take is that controversial. I mean, if anything, I would say I think for me, I think the reason why is because so when you had a lot of movies, you had 24 movies, right? I think it's 24 movies in that first saga from the Infinity Stones. And so
God, I've never counted, but I would say, yeah, 24, if not more.
Yeah.
It's a shit ton of movies.
And so you have a bunch of movies, and then you finish that saga off, and people are like, okay, that's it, I'm done. You know what I mean? That was fun. But
Yeah,
now you take it and you put it all into different like streaming services. Now I have to watch the Eternals to understand, blah blah blah, and I have to understand this
Oh my
to get
God,
this.
I
And so
know.
when you start straying from different sources, and on top of that, you pumping out the content that people don't have all the time to watch. You're trying to set up new stuff, but the new stuff just kind of feels like worse rehashed version of the old stuff. Um, and that's not to say that like the actors or anything like that are bad or nothing like that. I don't believe that.
No,
I believe that
no.
for the most part, Marvel's actually pretty good in their casting. It's just the
Oh, I
fact
think
that
so.
like
Yeah.
some people are just done with it, and like, oh, we're gonna get Agatha, the darkness with, nobody asked for that.
Yeah.
Like, you get all this weird kind of content that people just don't care about. They don't care
Yeah.
anymore. It's like, cool. Like it's difficult. I guess it's difficult to always put into words. I guess you know what I mean, because it's like at some point you just stop giving a shit, and
Yeah.
I think one of my issues too comes down to like they try to make a show. People aren't going to like it. They're going to express their displeasure, whatever. I think you take you cherry pick what you can. Just try to make a good show. Like, just try to make a good
Yeah.
show. Just try to make a good show,
I agree.
entertaining, blah, blah, blah. If you got naysayers, you got naysayers. No, that's how it is no matter what you do.
Yep.
But one of the issues is that what you don't do is that you don't attack your audience like they're all the same as the people who are like spilling the vitriolism. Like, if you have a small subset of people of like, and then I have a large group of people who are like, they're kind of whatever, but you treat that large group like the small group, you can't
Yeah.
complain when they're like, yo, I don't want to be a part of your stuff.
Yes.
That's where my issue comes in. Because obviously, like right now, I'm seeing that in like with the acolyte and stuff. I had to like, I the latest TikTok video I made, I had to literally say like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like
I saw that.
my
Yeah.
acolyte, the whole thing is just blowing up.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I get it. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't the happiest with the episode either. I made my little review on it, said I'm not really feeling it, and then I left it at that. Do I think it ruined Star Wars or all that other kind of stuff? Like, yeah, shut up. I'm not gonna lie. Like, stop. Like, it's like, if it ruined it for you, okay, stop watching it. Move on to the next show when that comes through.
Right.
However, I tried to make a post actually, but unfortunately I wasn't able to make it because the person privated the video in the process of it uploading. And the whole thing was about toxic. I call them toxic defenders, toxic positivity.
Yeah.
Right. And as much as like I don't like the people who are like overly negative, I don't like the people who are so on like this is just the greatest thing. You guys are just hating. If for anybody who makes like any kind of like even a comment like I'm not really feeling this, well then you're not a true Star Wars fan. Like you don't get to do that. You don't get to tell someone what they're a true Star Wars fan for. If they like, if they don't like the Acolyte or they don't like Andor or they don't like anything that Disney's put out, that doesn't mean they're not a Star Wars fan. That doesn't mean they just prefer the Star Wars from this generation stuff, but they're still a Star Wars fan. Like you can't like it's like you can't go into like that's like I told him like that's like saying with like Marvel and being like, man, I don't like Thor. If using that logic, most people are not Marvel's fan because a lot of people didn't like Thor 2.
Yeah.
So I was like, that just does not make sense in my head. And I was gonna call out. I like calling out that positive toxic, that toxic positivity. Like either it's an all or nothing kind of thing. But right now, like I wanted to talk. Like I talked about the Outlaws because I think I made a video like a long time ago about there's just not enough Star Wars games, like diverse Star Wars games. You know what I mean? Like we did get like Squadrons, which was all right, but let's be honest, just give me Star Wars Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
On the N64, someone remade Pod Racer.
Oh really?
Yeah, I was playing it up.
Dude, that was my favorite.
Dude, I was playing it up on my Xbox. It's on the Xbox. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to find that. I loved that one.
I thought it was like they're like, oh, this is the shit.
Yeah, dude.
It is just as bad as I thought it was.
That's the thing. It's so good. It's not a great game, but it's so good. Like,
it is. It was so much fun, and between that, the Star Wars Battlefront, they brought in that Luke collection set, and I was like, getting a game like Outlaws is great because it's, we already had our Jedi stuff. I don't need that right now anymore. Give me something completely separate. Kind of, it gives me that Mandalorian feel. I
Yeah.
like that. Like,
Yeah, I thought Jedi Survival was great. I like Cal Kestis. I like the story that they're going with, and I'm enjoying the like gameplay and stuff. There are certain aspects of the game that I wish were different, but all in all, I'm happy with the game.
I'd agree.
I I am not so happy with with Outlaw coming out that it's almost how do I say this? It's almost like the media itself is skewing my image or my idea of the game before it's even out, before I've even got a chance to play it,
Mm-hmm.
because it's already feeling like a money grab. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm kind of like, don't gatekeep parts of the game behind a paywall because you want to get the extra money. Like, if my thoughts is like Baldur's Gate 3, if the game is a good game, people will buy it. Helldivers 2 was not expected to be as popular as it was, and it blew the fuck up, and it's fantastic, and it was like $40. Like, if you have a great game, like if Outlaws turns out to be a fantastic game, you're already discrediting yourself by making it so expensive. Like, if it's a good game, you're going to make your money back because people are going to buy it.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think
Stop putting all your time and effort into making the game seem like it's going to be great and then making it so damn expensive. Just make a good game.
right.
We will buy it.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing that really that I didn't really want to bring up in there because I think I did mention that like I'm really weary when it comes to Ubisoft. I'm super weary. Like I do not like them as a company, and like,
Mm-hmm.
but like I also respect.
I do love me some Assassin's Creed, though.
I like
That's my
I'm a little hit and
weakness.
miss on Assassin's Creed. I do like the Far Cry series, so they do got some good
Yeah,
shit. You know what I mean?
those were awesome.
Yeah.
I love those.
But I definitely, when it comes to Star Wars Outlaws, and like you're seeing, like, oh, we have like 3 tiers of. Why are you doing this? Like it's like you said you give in missions, full missions behind pay. I'm not like people are not going to buy it, and then when they don't buy it, they're like, oh, see, people don't want Star Wars. No, it's not that people don't want Star Wars. They just know what shit you want. They know what
Yeah,
shit,
I don't.
and then when we
Yeah,
don't want us as consumers are like, yo, just give us the game. Well, I'll give you like no other company in any kind of industry that I can think of off the top of my head does this.
yeah.
Like you would never go buy a car and be like, oh, for the extra $3,000 I can put in the engine.
It's 100%. Yeah, yeah. Like it's like, let's go. But like, yeah, it's like you're already taking away what's going to make the game so good, and it's like in like if you have a game where you're like, hey, if you pay this amount extra, say it's like a $60 game, if you give us $80, you can have 3 days earlier access, you can have all of these cosmetics, you can have these type of things all in the beginning. I'd be like, yeah, man, if it's a good game, I probably would buy all of those things. If not, I would buy the base game, see how much I love it, and then buy the extension thing.
Right.
But if you're immediately telling me that in order to get the full game, I got to spend over $130 on a game that I am not sure is going to be good yet, doesn't really fill me with a whole lot of confidence.
No. And then, it's like if it does get any kind of negative reviews, then it's an instant, oh my god, it's the toxic fanboys and they just don't like good stuff, and it's a big combobble. Like we've kind of gone to this point of just any attention is attention, regardless of it's good
Yes.
or bad, and that's not how you make an entertainment business. I mean, I've been feeling kind of interesting seeing how bold some of these like CEOs are. You know, I think
Yeah.
of like the Rockstar being like, well, we should be paying how much we put into these games. You should be paying us per hour to play this. And I was like, do that and watch nobody play your shit.
Nobody's gonna play
Nobody's
your
gonna play
stuff,
it, and
dude.
your one moneymaker is gonna crash. Don't
Yes.
like with all due respect, shut your mouth. And I was
Yep.
like, with Ubisoft and Ubisoft being like, well, people should be getting used to not buying their or having the rights to their own games. And I was like, so what? You can pull them from me whenever you feel like.
Yeah. Like what exactly am I paying for
Right.
then?
I'm paying for
Because
the rights to
if
play
I'm
the
not
game. No, I'm paying for
right,
the game. Give me the
right.
game. Like this is stupid. And like, don't do it because you're gonna find someone coming in that's going to end up being like you can just buy your own stuff.
Yep.
I find it so insane how these companies are getting so kind of bold in the way that they're talking. That I'm like, you know, I remember when what was it? Battlefield 5 dropped. And
Okay.
the whole time they were preaching, like EA was like preaching historical accuracy, right? And the trailer opens up with this woman with a claw hand, runner shooting and all this other kind of stuff, and then she like blows up or whatever, but she comes back later on, and I'm like, but what about the historical accuracy that you promised, And then I heard that later on there was a couple missions that they actually changed. So like one of them was like originally was like there was like it was three or four men that disabled like a radio tower, right?
Yeah.
And then apparently in one of the missions, it was like they changed it up to it was like some woman looking for her mom or whatever, and she went in there and took out the whole tower thing by herself, and people were like, "That's not historically accurate," you know. And then guess what? I was like, one, they had a developer being like, "I feel like I'm on the right side of history." I'm like, by telling the wrong story,
Mm,
like that don't make no sense. But then on top of that, one of the bigger higher up execs were like, "Oh, if you don't like it, don't buy it," and they
right.
lost 80% of their pre-orders.
Yeah.
So people
I
are
believe
willing
it.
to talk. Like I wish
Yeah.
people would be doing that with the Madden games. But like, oh man, that's a rant for a different time because I. But
Well, I got a final so for starters here, um you this is awesome. I'm not even going to I say this so many times and I should just make it a part of the show. This isn't the end of this episode. This is only part 1. Get ready because we're going to have you back.
I'd
I
appreciate that.
do want to ask you one last question here to end out the episode
Okay.
because you made a TikTok video a little while back that I think shed a different light, a different viewpoint on something that as just myself, I don't see. So you made a fantastic video on the controversies going on right now with the new Assassin's Creed
Mm.
games. And I wanted to get your input on where you think the game is going to go to launch. Like as of like right now with everybody's talk and everything going on about like the main characters and stuff, where do you see this game going? And I would almost ask you to almost like repeat the point that you had made in your TikTok because I genuinely I thought it was really really good. It was a different viewpoint, and I think I appreciate that video more than I think people like realize that video is. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think so. I think when I first made the video, it was very much kind of that knee jerk reaction, and it even though I went to go actually learn a little more about Yasuke
Yes.
and stuff afterwards, um, because I can see the side of people being like, "Yo, this is actually cool. We're getting that part
So
of it."
for anyone listening, explain what you were about
So
to reference.
my thing was that when I first saw it, and then I heard that they had a story built up, but then they changed it for Yasuke. It felt pandering-ish to me at the time, right?
Okay.
Um, I was very much like, why would you change the story if it's set in feudal Japan? keep it the Japanese, keep it as Japanese as possible with the Japanese antagonist or protagonists. Um, and that one did get some backlash. I'm fine with that. It is what it is. That was how I felt at the time. As it's gotten through, I've gotten a little more apathetic. Like I try. When I think about it now, I try to keep an open mind. Like I wholly how I felt at that time I made it. I will stand by that 100%.
You know what? And I have to say, I do appreciate that about your videos. You are not afraid to speak your mind, and I think that is something that we lack a lot in social media these days. I think some people get to a point where they're too cautious, and I don't think we're actually getting genuine opinions anymore. And I think that's what I genuinely have been drawn to your TikTok videos, because like that video specifically, that was a raw thought, that was a raw emotion, and that, I think that's what made that video so good.
I appreciate it. And it was funny because I had a guy who made us, I don't remember exactly what it was, but he made a response to it. I responded back, and then he tried to get another guy who's like way bigger, like, 100,000 subscribers more than me, to try to comment on it. He never did. But it is what it is. I personally don't care. I thought it was funny because it kind of felt like to me that he was like, "Oh my god," he's like, "See, this is what this guy said." So like, I'm like, the people don't really give a shit. But like, now when I look back at it, like I said, I'm trying to keep a bit of an open mind on it and being like, you know what, maybe it won't be that bad. You know what, maybe it, I watched the gameplay footage from the showcase.
And that just came out.
Yeah, and I watched the video, so I was like, okay, like, you know what, I'll try to keep an open thought on it. Let's see what they do with it. You know what? That's the most I can do. As much as I wasn't a fan of it at that time, and I always, like I said, I'm always gonna I'm gonna stick by what I say. I'm still gonna feel like I'll still give it a shot because I don't want to be one of the people to just sit there and be like, oh, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this.
Right.
I don't worry about that really no more. I'm not gonna lie, I'm too grown for that shit.
Yeah, dude.
It's the best way to put it.
I agree. Dude, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, no problem, man.
This was like genuinely a lot of fun, and I have so much more that I want to talk to you about. But it's going to be perfect because that just sets us up for a part 2.
Sounds good to me.
You got to come back. We got to have a part 2. For one of the things I really do love to do with this show is that I take the end of the show to give you the full open floor opportunity. Plug anything and anything that you would want to plug. It could be anything that you're working on, any channels that you're on. It could be favorite food, a great movie you saw recently. Okay. Whatever you want, use this moment to just really shout it all out. And then at the very end of the episode, in the description of this video, or if you're listening in the description of the podcast, there will be all of the links to everything that we talk about.
Awesome. So I would definitely say that for right now, I focus on just doing my TikTok videos. I do have a YouTube channel up, AfroFishOG, as well. That one is where I also do my own lives and stuff. I've been meaning to do. I have a segment I do called Game Pass Plus and Beyond, where I kind of just do like little reviews / impressions of games that show up on Game Pass, on PlayStation Plus, and all that. Nice. They're fun. Like a lot of them I played. The rest one I'm going to be doing right now is about Dark Tide, because this game has been absolutely like bonkers, and it's so much fun to play. I would definitely say one of the other things I want to get a group to talk about. If you remember, like I said, if you remember G4 way back when, I want to get a group. I would love to have you on to discuss it as well.
I'd love to be on, honestly,
because for me, G4 was basically one of the reasons that made me feel like I wasn't alone as a gamer. Love to have that going. I don't know what exactly that's going to be. I've been trying to basically putting it on the back burner for like months. I do have one more, actually a podcast coming out on Monday. It'll be between me and another guy. I did a voice work. I did a voice work thing for him to help out with like a little comic thing.
Nice,
Yeah, it was kind of
dude.
weird. I've never done that before. But it
That's
was, yeah,
awesome.
it was really fun. So he's going to be up on Monday. We'll probably be talking mainly Star Wars. So
What's the podcast called?
just it's called Afro and the Scorp.
Okay.
My one friend, his name's Black Scorpio. He goes by Black Scorpio. He is not black. But like, so, but him and I usually go and we just kind of bullshit, kind of talk. It's a very laid back, loose one.
Hell yeah.
Like
Is that on
That'll be
YouTube
on
or
YouTube
Twitch or
and
both?
Twitch. I was trying to
Nice.
get it on
Okay.
TikTok, but I don't know how to do it, and it's really finicky, and I just don't have time for it.
Yeah, I'm still learning a lot of this stuff
Yeah,
myself.
it's crazy. But
My YouTube like search algorithm is just absolutely like it's so scattered because I'm just like every time I have a question, I'm just like, how do I do
oh yeah,
this?
that's how I learned how to do
Yeah.
my brakes and rotators for my car. Just learn how to do it just off of YouTube videos. But
You can learn everything off of
oh
YouTube.
yeah, you don't need a college degree no more. You can just YouTube it.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, yeah, definitely. All my YouTube stuff. I do have like one called I have a TikTok one called AfroFishOG Extra, where that's just kind of when I talk about stuff that I would never typically talk about up on my normal like channel thing. A little more jokes and humor and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's everything. As soon as I get off, I'm gonna be like, oh shit, I forgot. But like that's how that always goes.
Well, honestly, if you do think of anything else, send me a message with the link. I will happily throw it on the bottom of the description here.
Sounds good.
And then if it takes if you think of it like a couple weeks down the line or something, we always got part 2.
Of course.
So thank you so much for being here. If you want to find myself, I am on Instagram at Phoenixstwrt. You can also find the podcast on YouTube, which is the same name, Who What Now Pod. If you're watching this video, you nailed it. If you want to find the podcast on Instagram, Who What Now Pod. You can also find us on TikTok at Who What Now Pod. Don't forget to go in, shoot us a follow, a comment, like something. It really helps to, break up the algorithm, really puts us out there a little further. So that we can get more viewers, more listeners, and more, honestly, more conversations going. Something that we'd love to absolutely do on this show is to get a community together to get in the Discord. We always talk about, upcoming games, old games, the nostalgia, all the way to current things that we're playing right now. It is super, super fun, and there's always fun conversations and new topics to be had, which then usually end up sometimes on this show as topic conversational pieces. So like I said, you can find us on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. If you are a gamer or a TTRGP player and you have a little bit of a spicy side, go check out on TikTok Danny Reads Dirty Books. That is my wife's TikTok. She is actually writing a book right now.
Same.
And so I know that a lot of you are always looking for some new, spicy book recommendations. So bring a towel. Anyway, there is. You can also find the tech guy of the show, who basically, the whole reason any of this is possible is at Nerdy Noah Reads on TikTok and YouTube. Please, please, please go check those out. We just had a video talking about why you should let your D&D characters die and be okay with it, and are cozy gamers. Check those out. Super, super fun. And as always, thank you so much for being here on the show. This truly was an absolute blast, and I cannot wait for part 2.
Me too. Me neither.
So until next time, catch you on the next one.